Are you one of those people who suffer from electromagnetic hypersensitivity, fatigue, tiredness, stress, brain fog, aches and pains? What if I told you that you can soak your way into serenity? Soak in Serenity, our new herbal bath formula, is known to soothe anxiety, relieve stress and fatigue in just one bath. Visit our store at blacksunrise.com/herbs-page. Remember to spell sunrise SONRISE.
Let's see, and I won't keep you for much longer. I mean, thank you for all of this.
No problem.
In terms of the near range scenario, do you acknowledge that there is a sort of, that they don't really go by countries so much, that Britain and Australia and Canada and I forget which other countries are part of this pact, but there's a sort of a pact that makes up a sort of one side, and then there are other sides that involve sort of China and various countries around that.
Well, I was told basically any nation that's part of NATO has access to these projects. So I don't know if that rings true to either of you two.
Okay, so I guess the question is whether or not you're aware, like, because in a sense, as super soldiers, you report to somebody. And so you also have to know who you don't report to, who the enemy is, if you will. How do you recognize the enemy in a scenario such as we've got here on Earth, where, in essence, we're approaching what is in essence a one world government, but there's definitely areas where they're more loyal to, let's say, if you want to call it the Zionist faction. I'm not sure if that actually is the split you're making, because I do see what you're talking about, but I get a feeling that at times they're working together. So it's really confusing. But what I'm asking is, in essence, is how do you tell who the good guys are, from your point of view?
Okay, well,
what I would consider a good guy is not who you would consider.
True. In essence, the super soldiers are bred to kill, so there's always an enemy.
But how,
there always has to be an enemy. The enemy. Okay, well, the enemy now is they're instigating a race war in America, and that's they're socially engineering it for a race war against blacks and whites, because they're trying to reduce the population, so they're targeting blacks in America as the first group, and it's an extension of what was going on in Africa with depopulating the blacks in Africa with engineered AIDS and things like that. So they're engineering social situations in America now, and then that group is being currently targeted, the blacks in America, and there's a lot of race issues being brought into the media, like Obama is talking about, let's talk about race. In the media, a lot of things are focusing on race to get people's mindsets geared up for that. And it's, in essence, it's a continuation of social engineering programs from Haight-Ashbury in the 60s in San Francisco. The Manson family, the Charles Manson murders, and he was programmed at China Lake for the social engineering. Charles Manson was talking about Helter Skelter, and which was a race war, an apocalyptic race war in America between blacks and whites.
With the Beatles triggering
and the
music.
The Beatles triggered that, the Helter Skelter song. And then that was, the Manson murders were supposed to trigger that. And that was, the Helter Skelter race war was supposed to start in Haight-Ashbury, the hippie colony in San Francisco.
At the moment, that actually sounds sort of passé in a sense. It doesn't. Of course, I live in LA, and it just doesn't seem realistic at this time, from my point of view, that doesn't seem like it's going to fly.
But you know, they've often tried to, with the Fourth Reich being based on the West Coast, they tried to trigger this helter-skelter apocalyptic race war in California. With the LA riots, they tried to do it again, and they're going to keep trying to do it until all hell breaks loose between blacks and whites in America. Because, you know, to get back to the question, you said, who's the current enemy? Well, the black race is being targeted currently in America, the Afro-Americans.
Okay, but doesn't that seem like sort of an counterintuitive if the president is at least partially black?
But what does he consider himself? He's half black, half white, so is he loyal to the whites or is he loyal to the blacks? I'd say he's loyal to the whites, to the Rothschild.
And also, how easy would it be to trigger a race war if it was set up that a clone version of him was shot by a white supremacist? Then that would immediately trigger an uprising. And
that would be a perfect scenario.
Right.
They're going to keep socially, the Fourth Reich essentially is going to keep socially engineering these situations, you know, like the helter-skelter, the Manson in the 60s, the LA riots. Things will keep happening because they want to reduce the population, so they need to start with target groups.
Black Sunrise, waking the masses off their asses.